So the first skill, can you find the measure of a missing angle given 3 angles? Or given 2 angles? So like here I know this is 35, I know this is 90, and I don't know this angle, but I do know that 3 angles in the triangle add up to what? 180. So to find the missing angle, I just take 180 minus 90 minus 35, and that'll tell me the missing angle. And the missing angle is 180 minus 90 is 90, 90 minus 35 is what? 55? So, the measure of this acute angle down here is 55 degrees. And I said the word acute because it's less than 90 degrees, right? That should be reviewed from Algebra 2. Next, you see 90, you see 45. Without the interior triangle theorem, you should know that if you have a 45, the other one's 45 because it's a 45, 45, 90. Okay? So, you could just say the angle is 45, or you could do the same process and say this angle is 180 degrees minus 90, which is 90, minus 45, which is 45 degrees. Questions on that? So this is a good technique to use if you're given 2 angles and you're trying to find a missing angle. That's the easiest. Okay? You guys remember like quadrilateral, how to find out what, like a 4-sided figure, what all the angles add up to? Or a 5-sided figure, what all the angles add up to? Or a 6-sided figure, what all the interior angles add up to? Do you remember? You take the number of sides minus 2. So 1, 2, 3, minus 2 is 1. And then you would take 1 times 180. So if this had 4 sides, you would take 4 minus 2 and get 2. And then 2 times 180 is 360. So in a 4-sided figure, all the angles add up to 4 minus 2, 2 times 180, 360. Okay. All right, now, we are going to use what we used the other day. So if you're given 2 sides and you're trying to find an angle, so you're starting with this, working your way to that. Okay. So, what we learned the other day was this phrase, SOHCAHTOA. We're going to use it again. We're going to set up the ratio just like we did before. So here's your angle that you're trying to find. So then this would be my O. And then the slant across from 90 is always your H. And then this would be your A, which they don't tell us the A. They don't ask us to find the A, so who cares about the A? So which formula uses OH? Sine. So if we take sine of this angle, that's equal to O7 over H. Now we're trying to find an angle, so you need to take the inverse of both sides. Which looks like this on the calculator. So to get this angle by itself, take the inverse of both sides. Now this and this cancel, leaving just the angle. And I'm not going to do this step every single time, but you go to your calculator. Make sure in mode you're under degrees. I am degrees. And then sine inverse is the yellow button. See it? Right there. Go hit second sine inverse of 7/9. And that'll spit out the angle. So that angle is approximately 51. And depending on how they want you to round, I usually do 2 decimal places. Angles, I usually just do 1. So I'm going to say 51.1 degrees. What I do is I just jump straight to this step. And I say, okay, well that's sine. I do the sine inverse of O over H. And I skip these 2 steps. Can anyone tell me what this angle is going to be, approximately, in your head? 7/9, 7/9. This one's 51 degrees. Guess what? Over here, it's the same triangle. This is still going to be 51.1, still. So this one's going to be approximately what, 49? Or can't add 39. Right? Does that make sense? Because it's the same triangle. So I could either know that this is 51.1 and take 180 minus 51.1 minus 90 and get approximately 39-ish degrees, or I could use my trig ratios. Here is my angle. The one across from it's opposite, but they don't tell me opposite. They don't ask me to find opposite, but they do tell me the hypotenuse, and they do tell me the side next to the angle, the adjacent side. So which one uses cosine? Well, I said the question. I said the answer. A and H uses cosine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip these 2 steps and just jump straight to the angle equals cosine inverse of A over H. So 7/9. So I jump straight to this step. Does that make sense? You don't have to do those 2 steps every time. I just want you to understand why it works. And if you type that in the calculator, you should get around 39 degrees. Cosine inverse 7/9 should be around 39 degrees. 38.9. Right? So the missing angle, theta, is approximately 38.9 degrees. By the way, if I'm shooting a rocket into space, do you think I'm going to round much? Probably not, because having all of those millions of miles, billions, being off by just a hair, I'm going to miss. So for what we're doing, it's okay to round that much, but if you were a scientist, this would be way too much rounding. Questions so far? No? Next. They asked me to find this angle. This is my hypotenuse. They don't tell me what the hypotenuse is. They don't ask me what the hypotenuse is. But I do know that this is what? Over here. Opposite the angle. And this is adjacent. So which trig ratio uses O and A? Tan. So you just do tan inverse of O over A, 2.1 divided by 3.4. Type it in your calculator. Tan inverse of 10 divided by 3.4. And that's approximately 31 points. And if I wanted, now that I know that's a 31 and that's 90, I could find this, right? And then to find the hypotenuse, I have a squared and b squared. I can find c squared using the Pythagorean theorem. And that's what we call solving. That's what we're going to do Monday, where you take a triangle and you fill in everything that you're missing. All right. Next. Here's my angle. Over here would be opposite. They don't tell us what opposite is. They don't ask us to find opposite. So let's ignore opposite. But this is hypotenuse. And this is adjacent. AH is what ratio? Cosine. And in case you haven't been here in a few days, I'm using this. So Katoa, some old horse caught another horse taking oats away. So cosine is A divided by H. Order does matter. So if you did H divided by A, you'd get the wrong answer. So you do A divided by H. So this missing angle is equal to the cosine inverse of A 13 over H. I think the angle ones are easier than the length ones. Type it in. Okay. Type it in correctly, and you get approximately 43.8 degrees. So when you're trying to find a missing angle, what you do? When you're trying to find a missing length, it's a little bit different. So when you're given an angle on a side, and this is where you like cross multiply and stuff. So if you have an angle on a side trying to find a side, you don't use the inverse function. But if you have two sides trying to find an angle, you do use the inverse function. So you gotta make sure you get that in your head. If I'm trying to find an angle, I use the inverse. If I'm trying to find a side, I use just regular. Also, none of this works unless it's a right triangle. Okay, so SOHCAHTOA does not work if it's not right. Remember that. Today's skill was, can you find a missing angle of a right triangle given two sides. I'm a 4. Been a 4 for years. I got a bonus question for you. It puts multiple things together. Any idea what that angle is? Here, I'll even write it like this. Yeah, so it's a special right triangle, 30, 60, 90, or 45, 45, 90. The legs are the same. This is a leg with the square root of 2. So I know that that angle is 45 degrees, just looking at it, because the legs are the same. But if you didn't know that, you could still be like, well, they gave me 3 sides. So it's really up to you. Which 2 sides do you want to use? Because it gave you 3. So this is O. This is H. Oh no, this is A. And this is H. So you could use any of the 3 trig ratios you want. I'm not going to use sine just because it's the first one. And I don't like playing favorites. So then X would equal sine inverse. So S O over H, 3 over 3 square root of 2. Look at that, 45 degrees. I think it's amazing how everything fits together and works out, and everything just mathematics. So I still get 45 degrees. I could use the cosine function and it would still spit out 45 degrees. I could use the tan function, it'll still spit out 45 degrees. So when you're working on these, sometimes when kids say, which trig ratio should I use? If you're given 3 sides, it's your choice, whichever one you like the best. Okay? Anyway, that's something else. Yeah, Excel goes with what we learned today. Finding an angle measure, using trig ratios, get that to a 90. And we're almost to the point of what do you do if it's not a right triangle? How do you solve? And that's a little more complex. So what do you do if it's a triangle that's not 90 degrees? And that's what we get to learn next week. Okay? Homework. It's been a long time since I gave you homework. Today is October 25th, due tomorrow, October 26th. Any questions? What would this be? Oops. Gave it away. Yeah. I like to do that, give out part of the problem. But say you didn't know, if the source is half the hypotenuse, then you know that this is 30 degrees, right? And if that's 30, then that's 60. Or you can use trig ratios, right? Does that make sense? We learned that yesterday. All right, that's all I have. Let me know if you have questions.